Hi, this is John Leonard. I'm a lawyer in Denver, Colorado with Fairfield and Woods. Today we get to talk to one of our estate planning lawyers who also does nonprofit work, setting up nonprofits. Courtney, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, John.
Today we get to talk about common law marriage in Colorado. And I guess before we get started, are the laws different in every state on this?
They are, yeah. So there's only 10 states in the country that actually recognize common law marriage.
Huh. Well,
So
let's get
not
into
even a problem.
we'll get into the meat here in Colorado. So in Colorado, I guess I should preface this. What is common law marriage and why do clients need to be aware of this law?
Yeah, so Colorado has recognized common law marriage since the 1870s. And common law marriage is also called non-ceremonial marriage. So that is where two people cohabitate together, so live together. They have an intention to be married and they hold themselves out as married. And there's no minimum amount of time for you to establish the common law marriage. You just have to meet those elements. And if you do, then the law finds that you were married to that individual.
Oh,
And it's really important for clients to be aware of this because it can have a huge impact on division of assets if you are to break up, or divorce if it is found that you are common law married, or if you die and you don't leave anything for this spouse in your will. In Colorado, a surviving spouse can file what's called an elective share, and they would be entitled to 50% of your probate estate. So essentially 50% of your assets, if it's found that they are in fact your common law spouse.
so a couple of things I think I picked up on. You said two people, it doesn't need to be a man and a woman.
It does not. It can be a woman and a woman, and a man, or a man and a woman.
Okay. And I guess the other thing I picked up on, if you want to avoid that, you have a will and a trust, and we already did a slide series on that. So as part of our series, if you want to know about that, you can click on Courtney talking about wills and trusts. So what steps can clients take to avoid inadvertently entering into common law marriage? And I guess I just spilled the beans on that. So.
Sure. So there's two things. So the first thing is be aware of what factors are the court's going to look at to establish a common law marriage. And if you're holding yourself out as married and you're wearing wedding rings and you're calling each other husband and wife and you're using the other person's surname and you're filing joint tax returns, there's a comprehensive list that the court recently put out that says here's what we're going to look at to establish common law marriage. And so it would be good to be familiar with that. The second thing is called a cohabitation agreement. And that is an agreement that we put together that lays out the terms of the relationship and says that you acknowledge that you live together and that you're in a committed relationship, but that you're not married, and that you have no intention of being married, and that you do not consider yourselves common law married. And so if somebody break up, then exhibit number one is the cohabitation agreement that says, look, we agreed we're not married.
Interesting. So this last question is, what's a co-tenancy agreement? Is that like a cohabitation agreement? What is that?
They're similar, but their purposes are different. And a lot of times we do both for clients. So the cohabitation agreement is essentially to avoid entering into a common law marriage. A co-tenancy agreement is an agreement you want to put in place with somebody if you are going to co-own property with them. So let's just say you buy a house and you are on the deed as tenants in common. Then we would put together a co-tenancy agreement that lays out the terms of the ownership. So if somebody put $100,000 down as a down payment, the agreement states they get that money back, and then you split the profits or the depreciation. It also can talk about how utilities are to be paid, how repairs are to be paid. It just sets forth all the terms and understanding for what happens to that property. And the most important provision in there is what happens to that property if you break up or if somebody dies. And gives the other person, oftentimes we include a provision in there that would give the other person what we call a right of first refusal, or the ability to purchase that property
Yeah.
from the co-owner.
Well, very interesting. Thanks for joining us today, Courtney, on common law marriage and related topics here in the state of Colorado. This is, like I said in the tape here, this is one of a series we've done with various lawyers. The best ones, right, are with you right now, Courtney, on estate planning and setting up nonprofit organizations. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and your contact information is right after this slide, so thank you.
Great, thanks.